Shalom, my friends. Here we're picking up with our study in Zechariah, chapter 7. And in the 4th year of sovereign Darius, it came to be that the word of Yahweh came to Zechariah on the 4th of the 9th month, Kislev. Now, Beth El had sent Sar Etzer with Rechem Melech and his men to pray before Yahweh, speaking to the Kohanim who belonged to the house of Yahweh of hosts, and to the Nevi'im, saying, Should I weep in the 5th month and fast as I have done for so many years? Little note there that this weeping and fasting in the 5th month, it was a man-made ritual. This is not anything that has anything to do with the Father's Torah. Verse 4, Then the word of Yahweh of hosts came to me, saying, Speak to all the people of the land and to the Kohanim, saying, When you fasted and lamented on the 5th and 7th months, all these 70 years, did you truly fast for me? For me? And when you ate and when you drank, was it not for those eating and for those drinking? Are these not the words which Yahweh proclaimed through the former Nevi'im, when Yerushalayim and the cities around it were inhabited and in safety, and the south and the low country were inhabited? And the word of Yahweh came to Zechariah, saying, Thus said Yahweh of hosts, Judge true right ruling, show kindness and compassion everyone to his brother. Do not oppress the widow or the fatherless, the stranger or the poor, and do not plot evil in your hearts against one another. But they refused to listen, and they shrugged their shoulders and stopped their ears from hearing, and they made their hearts like flint against hearing the Torah and the words which Yahweh of hosts had sent by his Ruach through the former Nevi'im. Therefore great wrath came from Yahweh of hosts. And it came to be, as he called, and they did not hear, so let them call, but I shall not hear, said Yahweh of hosts. And I scattered them with a storm wind among all the Gentiles, which they had not known, and the land was laid waste behind them, no one passing through or returning, for they made the pleasant land a waste. Chapter 8. And the word of Yahweh of hosts came, saying, Thus said Yahweh of hosts, I shall be jealous for Zion with great jealousy, with great wrath I shall be jealous for her. Thus said Yahweh, I shall return to Zion, and I shall dwell in the midst of Yerushalayim, and Yerushalayim shall be called City of the Truth, and the mountain of Yahweh of hosts, the Kodesh mountain. Remember, I always say Kodesh. I think the best understanding for that word is dedicated. Yahweh is Kodesh. He wants you to be Kodesh. He's dedicated to truth and faithfulness. And he wants us to be dedicated to him. Verse 4. Thus said Yahweh of hosts, again, old men and old women shall dwell in the streets of Yerushalayim, each one with his staff in his hand because of great age, and the streets of the city shall be filled with boys and girls playing in its streets. Thus said Yahweh of hosts, if it is marvelous in the eyes of the remnant of this people in these days, should it also be marvelous in my eyes? Declares Yahweh of hosts. Thus said Yahweh of hosts, See, I am saving my people from the land of the sunrise and from the land of the sunset, and I shall bring them back, and they shall dwell in the midst of Yerushalayim, and they shall be my people, and I shall be their Elohim in truth and in righteousness. Note, this began May 14th, 1948. You can also look at Isaiah chapter 11, verse 11. The nation of Yisrael was established. Then in June, on June 7th, 1967, we had the 6-day war, packed with amazing miracles. Anyway, Yisrael gained control for the first time since the crucifixion. Verse 9, thus said Yahweh of hosts, let your hands be strong, you who are listening in these days to these words from the mouth of the Nevi'im, of the day the foundation was laid for the house of Yahweh of hosts, the Heichal that was to be rebuilt. For before these days there was not a wage for a man, nor a hire for beast, and there was no peace for him who went out or came in because of his enemies, and I turn all men one against another. But now I am not as in the former days to the remnant of this people, declares Yahweh of hosts. Because of the sowing of peace, the vine gives its fruit, the ground gives her increase, and the Shamayim give their due, and I shall cause the remnant of this people to inherit all these. And it shall be, as you were a curse among the Gentiles, O house of Yehudah, and house of Yisrael, so I shall save you, and you shall be a beracha. Do not fear, let your hands be strong. For thus said Yahweh of hosts, as I proposed to do evil to you when your fathers provoked me, declares Yahweh of hosts, and I did not relent, so again in these days I have purposed to do good to Yerushalayim and to the house of Yehudah. Do not fear. These are the words you should do. Speak the truth to one another. Judge with truth and right ruling for peace in your gates. And do not plot evil in your heart against another. And do not love a false oath. For all these I hate, declares Yahweh. And the word of Yahweh of hosts came to me, saying, thus said Yahweh of hosts, the fast of the 4th, and the fast of the 5th, and the fast of the 7th, and the fast of the 10th are to be joy and gladness and pleasant appointed times, Moedim, for the house of Yehudah, and they shall love the truth and the peace. You know, appointed times, most people think of those as the feasts, or Jewish holidays. They're not Jewish holidays. They are the Father's appointments with mankind. A one, like the Feast of Trumpets, that's a moed, but plural would be moedim. He says these are the words you should do. Be doers of the word. What is truth? Truth is when His word and your actions become one. That's truth. Verse, where are we here? Verse 20. Thus said Yahweh of hosts, peoples shall yet come, inhabitants of many cities, and the inhabitants of the one go to another, saying, let us earnestly go and pray before Yahweh, and seek Yahweh of hosts. I myself am going. And many peoples and strong nations shall come to seek Yahweh of hosts in Yerushalayim, and to pray before Yahweh. Thus said Yahweh of hosts, in those days 10 men from all languages of the nations take hold. They shall take hold of the edge of the garment of a man, and Yahudi, saying, Let us go with you, for we have heard that Elohim is with you. Now take note, verse 23, in those days 10 men. 10 is the number of witness, testimony of the world. And was take hold of the edge of the garment of a man. That man would be Yeshua. You can also take a peek at Isaiah chapter 2, verse 2. Chapter 9, the affairs of Alexander the Great. Take note, Alexander, he was only 19 years old when he did these things. And all this in chapter 9 here was recorded 200 years before he was born. Alexander was a serpent worshiper. So anyway, let's dig in chapter 9. The message of the word of Yahweh against the land of Chadrach and Damascus, its resting place. That would be Damascus. When the eye of a man and all the tribes of Israel are on Yahweh, and Hamath also borders on it, Tzor and Sidon, though they are very wise, for Tzor built herself a tower, heaped up silver like the dust, and gold like the mud of the streets. See, Yahweh shall dispossess her, and he shall destroy her power in the sea, and she shall be consumed by fire. Ashkelon sees it and fears, Azah too, writing in anguish, and Ekron, for her expectation has dried up, and the sovereign shall perish from Azah, and Ashkelon shall not be inhabited. And a half-breed shall settle in Ashdod, so I shall cut off the pride of the Pelishtites, and shall take away his blood from his mouth, and the abominations from between his teeth, and he shall remain, even he, to our Elohim, and he shall be like a leader in Yehudah, and Ekron like a Jebusite. And I shall encamp around my house against an army, against him who passes by, and him who returns, so that no oppressor passes through them again, for now I have seen with my eyes. Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Yerushalayim. See, your sovereign is coming to you. He is righteous and endowed with deliverance, humble and riding on a donkey, a colt, the foal of a donkey. That's verse 9. That was written 518 years beforehand, and you can see him riding in on the donkey. Luke chapter 19 verse 38, Matthew chapter 21 verse 5. Verse 10, and I shall cut off the chariot from Ephraim, and the horse from Yerushalayim, and the battle bow shall be cut off, and he shall speak peace to the nations, and his rule is from sea to sea, and from the river to the ends of the earth. Also you, because of the blood of your covenant, I shall send your prisoners out of the pit. Return to the stronghold, you prisoners of the expectation. Even today I declare that I return double to you, for I shall bend Yehudah for me. By the way, verse 11, I shall send your prisoners out of the pit. Just makes me think of Joseph in the pit. Genesis chapter 37, verse 24. Verse 12, return to the stronghold, you prisoners of the expectation. Even today I declare that I return double to you. For I shall bend Yehudah for me. I shall fill the bow with Ephraim. And I shall stir up your sons, O Tzion, against your sons, O Yawan. And I shall make you like the sword of a mighty man. And Yahweh shall appear for them, and his arrow go forth like lightning. And the Adon Yahweh sound the ram's horn, and he shall go with whirlwinds from the south. Yahweh of hosts shall shield them, and they shall devour and trample on sling stones, and they shall drink, roar as with wine, and they shall be filled like basins, like the corners of the altar. And Yahweh their Elohim shall save them in that day, as the flock of his people, for the stones of a diadem sparkling over his land. For what goodness is his, and what comeliness is his? Grain make the young men thrive, and new wine the maidens. Okay, let's we'll go to chapter 10 and complete this week's study. Chapter 10. Ask Yahweh for rain in the time of the latter rain. Yahweh who makes storm clouds. And he gives them showers of rain, the plants in the field, to everyone. For the household idols spoke emptiness. The diviners saw falsehood and relate dreams of deceit. They comfort in vain. Therefore they have wandered about like sheep. They are afflicted, for there is no shepherd. This is referring to divination. Teraphim, household idols, that was a capital crime in Israel. Verse 3, my wrath burns against the shepherds, and I lay charge against the leaders, for Yahweh of hosts shall visit his flock, the house of Yehudah, and make them like his splendid horse in battle. From him comes the cornerstone, from him the tent peg, from him the battle bow, from him every ruler together. This is, look at Isaiah chapter 28, verse 16. Look at 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 4. And look at Isaiah chapter 22, verse 23. In verse 3, it's talking about the house of Yehudah. And then in verse 4 it says, from him comes the cornerstone. That Yehudah, that's the southern tribes. And now verse 5, and they shall be like mighty men who trample down the mud of the streets in the battle, and they shall fight because Yahweh is with them, and the riders on horses shall be put to shame. And I shall make the house of Yehudah mighty, and save the house of Yosef. And I shall bring them back, because I have compassion on them, and they shall be as though I had not pushed them aside, for I am Yahweh their Elohim, and I answer them. Again, Yehudah, that's the southern tribes. Verse 7, and Ephraim, that represents the northern tribes, shall be as mighty as a mighty man, and their heart shall rejoice as if with wine, and their children shall see and rejoice, their heart exulting in Yahweh. I like this. I like this next verse. I shall whistle for them. Yahweh whistles for them. I shall whistle for them and gather them, for I shall ransom them, and they shall increase as they once increased. Though I sow them among peoples, they shall remember me in places far away, and they shall live together with their children, and they shall return. I shall whistle for them. You can also look at Isaiah chapter 5, verse 26. Yahweh whistles. I like that. You know, you wouldn't know this, but I walk around, I whistle all day long. Oh, well, let's not go there. verse 9, though I sow them among peoples, they shall remember me in places far away. I know I already read that. Let's repeat it. And they shall live together with their children, and they shall return. And I shall bring them back from the land of Mitzrayim, that's Egypt, and gather them from Ashur, and bring them into the land of Gilad and Lebanon, until no more room is found for them. And he shall pass through the sea of distress, and strike the waves of the sea, and all the depths of the river shall dry up, and the pride of Ashur shall be brought down, and the scepter of Mitzrayim be taken away. And I shall make them mighty in Yahweh, so that they walk up and down in his name, declares Yahweh. Hallelujah. We'll close there, and we'll pick up next week with chapter 11 and complete our study in the book of Zechariah. Shalom, my friends.